everyone, Bandit here. Welcome to the Bandit Flight Simmer channel. And today we are back in the Diamond DA62 doing our next leg of our flight around the world. Starting off today in Nice, Côte d'Azur, France. And we're going to be heading out across Italy. And today we're going to be finishing up in Kefallinia, Greece. An island just off the west coast of Greece. It's a pretty long trip, a lot of overwater flying today, so we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do the trip using instrument flight procedures, and we're going to do an instrument departure and an arrival and approach. And I'm also going to be trialing a modification, and I'll include a link in the description, but it is a beta of a GTN750 addition to the G1000 suite, and it's basically a touchscreen interface and lots of nice features, including Navigraph chart information. So we'll be playing with that a bit today, just to see how that works. I ran a flight plan in SimBrief, and there's our route today. Basically leaving France over water and then down through central Italy, and we end up here in Greece. So let's hop in the cockpit. We've got some planes taking off ahead of us here, so hopefully they're gone by the time we get started, and let's get going. Okay, here we are in the cockpit. I'm going to do a full startup here, and I'm not going to load the flight plan. I was able to export the flight plan from SimBrief and save it on the computer, and then when you start up the flight simulator you can actually load that flight plan. There's a lot of waypoints to enter, and one of the problems with the G1000 system is it doesn't let you enter airways. So if you've got an airway with 10 waypoints on it, then you are going to have to enter each waypoint individually. So it's very time consuming. So I had it preloaded, and so let's get powered up and get ready to go. So we'll turn on our fuel first. Put on our safety stops there. We'll get the battery on. Get our masters on. Get our alternators ready to go. Turn on our position lights, and you can see it's a little bit different over here. We'll go through that in a few minutes. Cancel this warning, and put the CDI on and to nav, and yeah, we already have our first waypoint in there, so that's good. And you can see our track up here, so flight plan is loaded. So let's prime the fuel pumps. And we'll clear it to the right and to the left and start the right engine. I don't know why that took off like that. Okay, and we'll start the left engine. It's a little bit better. Maybe the throttle was out of position. Okay, so check our temperatures and pressures. Are looking good. Temperature's starting to come up. Oil pressure starting to come up. Turn our avionics master on. Get our pitot heat on. Set our flaps to takeoff. And what I'm going to do is just go over some of this features here. So you can go to the map mode, and that will give us the map mode, and you can zoom in out. It's all a touchscreen interface with this, so you can see our flight plan. All those waypoints are loaded in properly, so that looks good. And then we can go back to there, the main menu. We can look up our charts. So we need to put in our airport that we are at here, which is Lima Fox Mike November. go info, and got our charts list. We can, if you have a Navigraph subscription, you can download your charts, and then there you go. Go to full page here, zoom in, and there's your taxi chart. So we would be parked over here, and today we're going to be departing off 22 right, so we can just taxi out, make a left turn, taxi out, and pick up Juliet 1 and take off on 22 right, or we can even just go straight out to Gulf here. But yeah, we got our taxi charts here, which is nice and handy. Okay, weather data for here, it's winds 160 at 3, good visibility, just a few clouds, 18 degrees, and 1020 on the altimeter. So we'll set that. There we go. And yeah, so there's the weather. Go back, put the map up for our departure, and I'll just show you the departure real quick. So here's the departure off of 22, and we're going to be following the routing out to Merlu here, and then picking up our route from there. And we're doing the 6 X-ray departure, so it'd be initial climb up to flight level 100, so 10,000 feet. And that looks good, so we will 10,000 feet in our altitude selector. And I think we are pretty much ready to go. So let's put our taxi light on. And we'll just taxi out straight ahead here and take off. Parking brake released. Clear that way. Looks like nobody ahead of us taking off, so just head out onto the runway. Turn our strobe light on, landing light, taxi light off. So lined up on the runway, center of heading. So everything is looking good. Temperatures and pressures are all coming up. Flaps are at takeoff. Lights are good. Turn our boost pumps on, and off we go. Pressures are good. There's 80 knots. Rotate. Positive rate, gears up. 100 knots with the flaps up. And on this departure, we want to fly our track as accurately as possible, so we'll get the autopilot on.
Engaging autopilot.
Flight director, and we'll put it in nav mode, so it'll follow that track, and we'll climb at flight level change. And we'll climb at 220 knots, is fine. Bring the power back to 95% or less, and so we're looking good, climbing up to 10,000 on our track. And we'll just monitor it along here and see how it's going. There's Nice, France, as we head out. Go outside and have a look. Beautiful day on the south coast of France. Okay. So usually the transition altitude, see what that is here. First we'll get our post-takeoff check. So we got our gear is up, flaps are up. Get our fuel boost pumps off. Turn off our landing lights. And temperatures and pressures are all good, power is good, so yeah, it looks good. And we're following that track, climbing up to 10,000 feet. So everything looks good there. Let's figure out what our transition altitude is today. That's where we have to set our standard pressure. If I look on the charts here, it will usually tell me. Under the notes. Anything on here, so it's probably issued by ATC. 5,000 feet is what they're saying, but it could be issued by ATC, so we'll just use the 5,000 feet as our transition altitude. We're just coming up on that now. So the standard pressure that we fly for when we go through a transition altitude in Europe is 1013. So we will adjust that. And that's our standard pressure adjusted. Do it on our standby here too. And this is still in inches of mercury, so it would be 2992. And we'll continue the climb up. So you can see here, we're following our track out. Looks pretty good. So that's the instrument departure. So it's just an RNAV departure. Uses the GPS, follows the RNAV track, and we just climb up in flight level change. So pretty easy departure out here. There's some other traffic coming into Nice. Okay, so that's it for the departure. So I'll check in with you as we level off, and then we'll play with some more features on the avionics here after we level off. Hey everyone, we're just cruising along here at flight level 190, and as you can see, getting some icing, and I had to climb up to see if I could get out of icing, but I couldn't. We were cruising along at flight level 100 or 110, and got an icing. Tried to go as low as we could, 7,000 feet, and couldn't get out of it. So I tried to come up higher, and still can't get out of it. So we're just coming up to the coast here. The weather in Rome is supposed to be pretty good, so I'm going to try to descend again. Now the lowest safe altitude, if I look on the airway charts here, is, it's hard to see, but these charts show flight level 100 as the minimum altitude. So I'm going to go back down to 10,000 feet, or flight level 100, and we will use vertical speed. 10,000 feet per minute. And yeah, one of the reasons I want to descend is if you look at my de-icing fluid, we're going through quite a bit of it here, so I'd like to get out of this icing if we can. It's also that time we can start transferring our fuel, so we're down to about 13 gallons a side. So if we go down to our fuel aux pumps here, turn those on, get the advisory that they're on, and should replenish our fuel. So while we're descending here, I've been playing around with this new Garmin edition here, and again I will link the description where you can get this. It's free right now. I think they're going to charge for it later. I don't know how much they're going to charge for it, but it does give a lot more, it does add a lot more features to the Garmin system here. So this is just our normal navigation screen, and I've been trying to figure out a few things the last hour or so while we were cruising along here, and I think I figured most things out. Not everything is active right now, but it's got a few more features for sure than the basic Garmin system that's included. So we'll just keep an eye on our descent here, see if we can get out of this icing, and I'll just show you some of the stuff here. So looking at our map here, we are tracking GPS on the autopilot, so that looks good. And you can zoom in or out of the map here, and you can also drag the map to see further ahead if you want, and then you can zoom in and zoom out, which is a nice feature. It's a lot easier to do just by dragging it with the touchscreen here. And you can even zoom in and see that we got our approach loaded for coming into Greece here. So it allows you to take a look at all the waypoints and see how they are. You go back, it goes back, centers the airplane on our track here, and zoom out. There's Rome coming up here, so hopefully we'll get clear of the cloud and see what Rome's like. Now, one problem, I thought everything was touchscreen. I couldn't find Direct to anywhere, and these buttons like menu are disabled with the touchscreen active, but the one thing I couldn't find out how to do Direct to anywhere, but this is the one button that still is active. So if you want to go direct to something, you can type in a waypoint here if you want, or you can go to your flight plan and select Direct to for that. So I'll just cancel that. So let's say we are going right now we're already going direct to Ektal here, and if we wanted to go direct to another waypoint, we could just select direct to, go to our flight plan, go down to the waypoint we want to go direct to. So if we want to go direct to the VOR fix here, we could select that, and I'm not going to do it right now, I'll show you a little later, but that's how you use the direct to feature. Still descending here. Oh, it looks like we might be getting clear of the cloud. Let's clean our windshield off here and see what we can see here. There's Rome Airport just coming up right here, so back a little bit. Send a little bit faster. Yeah, it is starting to scatter out here, so perfect. So I'll get down as fast as we can here to try to see if we can see some of Rome as we fly over. we'll hop back in the cockpit. I think I'll shut off our de-icing. Windscreen off again. And we will just keep cruising along. So anyway, I'll go over a little bit more of this as we get a bit closer to Greece, and we'll go over the approach that I loaded in and whatnot. So I'll see you again a little further along route. Hey everyone, we're back cruising along here, and we're just flying over Naples area. Just gonna point out Mount Vesuvius as we go by in the city of Naples. Weather stayed pretty good. We've been just below the cloud here, clear of icing, so it's been a little bit better. So anyway, let's hop outside and take a look at the Naples area. Again, another big Italian city. There's the international airport there. City of Naples, big harbor area, and this is Mount Vesuvius, the famous volcano that buried Pompeii. And this whole city of Pompeii, I believe, is over on the southern side of the volcano here. I don't think we'll see too much, but that would be Mount Vesuvius itself there. And we continue on heading down the Italian coast. So I went a little bit off track just to get a little bit closer to the city of Naples here. So let's hop back inside and I'll show you how the Direct To feature works. So again, you select this button with a flight plan, and I'm going to go back direct to this NC here. So I'll go direct to activate. And you can see in the flight plan that it's got our direct track there, so I'll reselect nav and the autopilot, and we'll pick up our nav track direct to NC. So that's how the direct to function works. Everything else you do on the touchscreen, direct to button though, you have to select to do a direct to feature with this modification. Anyway, I'll check in with you as we get a little bit closer to our arrival in Greece. See you in a bit. Okay everyone, we're about 86 miles back from the initial fix for the approach, VOR approach, at our destination in Greece, and we're at 11,000 feet. The weather is pretty good still, so let's go through some of the features here on the modified Garmin panel here. And this is the main screen again. So this is the screen that just shows your current track, and you can zoom in, zoom out, and if you touch anywhere on the screen, it goes into a pan mode, and then you can zoom in, zoom out, so we can look at our approach here. And that's going to be our approach, VOR approach into Lima Golf Kilo Fox. And so you can, that's a nice feature to be able to do that and pan around and see it really easily. And if you want to go back to your main nav screen, just go back, and then it goes back, and then you can zoom in or zoom out as required. So that's the main screen here. You have this message button keeps popping up, and when it flashes it tells you about airspace restrictions and stuff, and I don't know how to disable that, so like you might pop up because you're coming into this airspace here or whatever it is, so I couldn't find any way to disable that. You have the menu, which allows you to select if you want terrain, radar, airports listed, intersections listed, VOR, NDB show up, how much detail you want on your your screen. CDI, this changes what you're navigating. So now it's off VOR loc, and then it goes back to GPS. But you have to be careful. If you hit that, you're going to disengage the autopilot tracking for that. So you have to go back and select nav again. And now we're tracking nav. So like if I go back to CDI, and it changes our CDI up to VOR loc here, it just goes to a roll mode automatically until we have an active navigation aid to track. So you have to make sure that you select back to the nav function when we go back to GPS. So now we're back in GPS active tracking. So you have to be careful of that. So that's basically the same as the functions down here for your CDI. Now if we go back from this map mode, we get into the main menu, and not all these features are available. You can have your radar up here, terrain, you can zoom in and out and see the terrain mode of the map. You can access your flight plan, so if you need to change something in your flight plan. Right now we got the VOR approach loaded, and we're going direct to NC, the initial fix. So if you need to add something in here, you can add a waypoint, add on route waypoint or something like that, just like the normal flight plan mode. Procedure, this is where you can add your approach procedures and arrival procedures, departure procedures. Nearest airport function, you can pick an airport and it'll show your airport list here, but that doesn't seem to be functioning. Like I said, this is a beta, so not all features are working right now. Services, they don't have any of that going. Utilities, VNAV, and I'm not sure how that works, so I'm not going to get into that. You can see your traffic TCAS information here if you have that enabled. So the main functions are the map mode, and I'm going to stick with that for now. And we have the message flashing again, so that keeps flashing. I wish there was some way I could disable it, but I can't seem to find that. Up here for the COM, this only, you can still change your radios over here, COM 1 and COM 2. This allows you to quickly do it with touchscreen, and it's a nice feature, and this only works for COM 1 or NAV 1, it doesn't work for COM 2. So basically you just select here, you can put in a frequency, 1350, and you can hit enter, and now it's your backup, and to switch it you just hit the transfer button there. And you can also put in a frequency 1240, and you can transfer it right away. So same thing with the nav. These buttons don't seem to function. You can also do your transponder. You can set a code. 7000 is good. We can turn it on, and that's a nice function to have as well. So we're altitude reporting 7,000. So that seems to work okay. Now if we go back and we want to look at our charts, we have to make sure our airport is selected here, and then you can go and select either info, approach, arrivals, departure, and bring up what you want to use. And then you can zoom in. And if you don't see this screen here, you basically, it could be in full screen mode here, so if you want to get back to the if you want to go back, how do I get back to that split screen? Yeah, you need to get this up here so you can select the proper airport up here. And if you want to get airport info, you can select, and this is where you can get your airport diagram, and you can select that chart. And we can see here, we can go to full screen, so it's almost an 8,000 foot runway. You can zoom in on the chart and just see that there's one parking ramp, 2 taxiways, so it's got all the information there. And we're going to be coming in on 14, and I'll go back to split view, we'll go back to our approach, And there's our approach. We'll full screen here, and we can see our approach now. And you can pan around with your mouse, just like a touch screen. Zoom in, zoom out. And we're coming in via NC here, and we're going to be tracking along to pick up the VOR and then following the VOR in. And we have the altitudes associated with that, and our minimums will be 1,300 feet. So it's not a great approach. It's kind of like a letdown approach. Very high minimums for this approach. So, and the weather should be suitable. And let's go and see if we can check the weather. So if I go back to the map, I go to menu. Oh no. Back. I go to waypoint info. Airport, and there's the airport selected. So if we didn't have it selected, we could select it up here, but we already had it selected. So now we can go check the weather from here, and it's going to get the weather. So the weather is winds 110 at 7 knots, good visibility, light rain, few 1800, scattered 2500, broken 7000, 20 degrees, and the altimeter is 1018, so we can have that information to plan our approach now. So there's all kinds of useful information on here. And so what I'm going to do now is set up for the approach. I will mention that just as we were cruising along, the flight simulator program did crash on me, and that's probably caused by the modification for this system here. So sometimes, especially these are in beta mode, they create conflicts within the program, and so this simulator crashed, so I had to restart it. And I took off from an airport near where we were at the time, and picked up our route here. So if you're going to use this mod, just be careful. It might not. It might cause your program to crash. So I'll go through the setup for the approach, and we'll continue on. Okay, let's talk about the approach. We're going to fly into Greece here, and the approach is right here, and it's Kefallinia Greece. We're going to be doing the VOR approach runway 14 because the winds are 110. Coming in via NC, so we're going direct to NC right now. So minimum safe altitude till we're within 25 miles of the VOR is 5,000 feet. So once we get a little closer, we'll descend down to 5,000 feet. We can also check our en route portion of our chart here and see that the probably get down to 5,000 feet before we get within 25 miles. And then once we cross NZ, we're good down to 2,900 feet, and then we want to make sure that these fixes are in the procedure, so we can look that up. So there should be a 10 DME fix, and 13 DME fix, a 10 DME fix, a 7 DME fix, and then we have these step down altitudes we can fly. So once we get at the 13 DME fix, then we will switch over to the VOR and fly the VOR in, because this is just coded as a VOR approach. It's not a VOR/RNAV approach. So we'll have to first dial in our frequency of 115.5. So let's do that right here. So 115.5. So we'll put that up. And we'll go over to here, and we will put the needle up for that as well. So right now we have no data on that needle, so let's go to PFD, bearing 2, and we'll put that on nav1, which is KFN, the VOR for the approach we're going to be shooting, and that's already identified. It's 58 miles away. So we have that set up. So we'll go back here now, and I'll show you how we did the procedure. So you go to procedures here in the menu. What I did is I selected the VOR 14 via NC, and then I loaded and activated the approach, which I already did, so I'm not going to do that again. And it just gives you a preview of the approach here. So we have the CD14, 10, and so CD14 is the 13-mile fix, yeah. And VOR 10, yeah. And FD14, so they're all in the approach here, and I'll show you right here. So there's the fix CD14, VOR 10, and FD14. So all these fixes are in the procedure, so we're good to go. Again, this message light is flashing, so just shut that down. So cancel. I'll go back, and we'll go back to the map. So I think we are ready for the approach. One more thing we can do. The weather's not too bad, but we will put in our minimums. So I will set the reference altitude, and we will go down and put our minimums by barrow, and we will put in the altitude of 1,300 feet. Okay, and so we have that set. So 1,300 feet radio barrel minimum set, and yeah, I think we're pretty good. The transition altitude is 8,000 feet. So we'll set the altimeter for the airport when we go through 8,000 feet. So right now we are 33 miles back, and I'm just going to double check on the chart here what our minimum en route altitude is. So we're over water, there's no obstacles as far as I can see, so I think we'll just go down to that 5,000 foot altitude. So what I'm going to do is I'll start the descent, and I'll check in with you as we get closer to NC here. So to get the descent going, I will lower our altitude to 5,000 feet. And we will go vertical speed. And I'll do about 700 foot per minute rate descent, bring back some power. And I'll see you again when we get a little closer to NC. Okay, so we're at 5,000 feet, and we're just coming up to the initial fix of an AC, and we're tracking inbound here. We've got the altimeter set for the airfield, and we are going to cross an EC, and once we do that, we can descend to 2,900 feet for our next fix, which is the D13 or CD14 on the chart. And then once we're inbound from there, we can descend to 2,400, then 2,200, and then once we cross the 7-mile fix, we can go down to our minimums of 1,300. The weather is good here right now, but we're just going to follow the approach procedure and continue with that. So we're crossing an EC. Let's put 2,900 feet for our altitude. And we'll start a descent here, about 1,000 feet per minute. Bring the power back. And you can see we're tracking inbound to the next fix, which is CD14. Get our landing light on. Yeah, there's some quite high terrain over here. I wonder what all those lights are for. There's the airport there. So it turned out to be a pretty nice evening here in Greece as we make our final approach. But we will just continue with the approach procedure, just since we've planned for that anyway. And it is nighttime, it's always good to follow those procedures, just remain clear of obstacles. So I'll bring a little bit more power off, get the speed back. So once we cross that next fix, we can actually select our next lower altitude, which is 2,400 feet. I'll put that in. And we will start tracking inbound, and then we can select the VOR, because that's what we're supposed to be using on this approach here. So, and then we just use distance back for each subsequent point we can descend. So we're tracking inbound, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the VOR. I'm going to activate approach mode, and we are going to track the VOR inbound. So there's the distance back is 11 miles, so inside 10 miles we can go down to our next altitude of 2,200 feet. So we're active autopilot, VOR approach, and vertical speed. So everything looks good for the approach. We're looking for the 10 miles where we can select our next altitude. And we're leveling off at 2,400. 10 miles is coming up. There's 10 miles, so we'll select our next altitude of 2,200 feet. And we are alt captured, so I need to engage vertical speed mode, and so vertical speed mode. Oh, why is it not? There we go, yeah. So we're already actually alt captured for 2,200 feet. So the next point we're looking for now is the 7 mile point, and then we can do our final approach. So we want to get aircraft configured before that, so let's put the gear down and approach flap. We'll get our boost pumps on. Landing light is on already, and we're looking for 7 miles, and then we'll start a descent down to our MDA on our approach speed of about 90 knots. So we'll watch the power there, and just when we hit the 7 miles, I'll start our descent down. So we'll select our altitude now of our minimums of 1,300 feet. And that's set for our next altitude. 7 miles is coming up, speed's coming back. So I'll just select the final flap now. There's 7 miles, so we'll go vertical speed to about 800 feet per minute. It's always a good place to start. Watch the power. And there we go. So now we're going to descend to our minimum altitude. And if we didn't see the runway, we'd have to level off at that altitude, and then we'd carry out a missed approach once we got to the VOR, which is 0 miles. So that's how we would be shooting this approach, and we'll hopefully get visual here if we were IMC, and we are visual now. So all I need to do is disengage the autopilot anytime, and you can see by the VASIs here, we're 2 white over 2 red, so we're on a nice glide path for the approach right now. So looking pretty good. So gear is down, flaps are at land. We have the boost pumps on, landing lights on. So pre-landing check is good, speed's a little slow. It's because we're leveling off, so I'm going to disengage the autopilot now, and we'll just hand fly in the remainder of the approach. through our minimum altitude. Runway's in sight. Speed is good. Now it's just a nice visual approach from here. A little bit low. There we go, we're back on the glide path. Good, speed's good on glide path. Threshold, got the power, and here we are. Welcome to Greece. Just pull it off up ahead at the first turnoff point. Should be just up here on the left. Right here, there we go. And I'll just stop it right here. Anyway, that was it. Welcome to Greece. And that was the using this new modified Garmin system here. And is it worth it? Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it caused the simulator to crash once, and it does have some nice features as opposed to the Garmin system that's normally on here. I was able to do everything I needed to do, no problem. The nice thing is it has the integrated weather, and you can put your approach charts in here as well. So it definitely has some nice features. It's a bit of a routine to install it, so if you do go try it out, make sure you follow the directions closely on how to set up the system. It works in all the general aviation aircraft that have the Garmin screens on them, so it will just modify your Garmin 1000 system into this touchscreen Garmin. I think it's a GTN750. So yeah, it's worth trying out, definitely. It's easy to uninstall if you need to get rid of it, but especially if you have Navigraph, I think it's a good system to try out. So here we are in Greece. Thanks for joining me today. If you like the content, please subscribe and hit the like button, and follow me along for the next episode when we take the Diamond DA62 on our next leg. And I'm not sure where we're going to head to next, but I think maybe down to Istanbul, Turkey would be a good destination for the next leg. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the trip, and lots of interesting information on this mod, and hopefully you found that useful as well. And we'll see you next time. Band it out.